Well, I don't know if we covered it or not, but and I don't know how far we're jumping, but we ought to be getting in pretty soon to where Marla passed away.
We can jump there if you want.
That's fine.
She went to work for MRDD and she worked there 19 and a half years when she died. She was going to retire in August of that year. She could have retired in June, but she took a family leave when I got my second or third heart surgery. And so she had to pick up that time on the end to get her retirement. But she died on January 4th, and she would have retired on, she'd have been 60 on July 4th and retired on August 4th. She got up that morning to go to work. We'd just come off a vacation again. Or no, it was Christmas break. She had a week off for Christmas and Thanksgiving. And this was her first day back. And she got up that morning and said she wasn't feeling good at all. She said she had terrible indigestion. So I got her one of my Nexium tablets, which I use for upset stomach and so forth, and gave her one of those thinking it might help. And we had foster kids and they had to catch the bus.
Yeah, you want me to write that tonight and leave it out?
So she went upstairs to lay down, and I got the foster kids off to school. We had one kid that wasn't in school yet. He was still in bed upstairs. And I sit down in the TV room to watch, which was the little room off the kitchen, to watch the news, and then I was going to go up and check on her. Well, I just turned the news on and she walked down. She walked out into the kitchen, turned around and looked at me, and turned around like she was going to the bathroom and fell flat on the floor. And I rushed out, and I could see her lips and her ears were turning blue, that she wasn't catching her breath. So I was on oxygen at the time, and I got my oxygen and I put on her, and I called 911, and geez, I no more and hung up the phone, and they had 2 ambulances there. And they were putting the paddles on her, and they weren't doing any good. So they put her in the ambulance to take her to the hospital, and they didn't turn the sirens on, so I figured that was it. And I tried to call Shannon to get a ride. I was going to drive him down and follow him down to the hospital, and they told me not to get somebody to take me because their experience had been that, you know, you might have an accident. So I called Shannon and I couldn't get a hold of her, so I called the post office and I was able to get a hold of Trent. And I told him I needed it. I don't even remember what I told you, something about Mom.
You said, I think your mom's dead.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Great. Anyway, I asked him if he could come and take me to the hospital, and he said, yeah. And you were there within a few minutes after that, too. Your boss let you go right away.
Yeah.
And when we got down to the emergency room, and I walked in and I told them who I was and that they brought my wife in, and they told me to go in this little room and wait, I looked at Trent and I said, she didn't make it. I know she didn't, or we'd be going back to see her in the emergency room. And we were there, what, about 10 or 15 minutes, and then the nurse and the doctor come in and talked to us.
Yeah, something like that.
But I still couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And I guess Kenny must have got a hold of the family, because by the time we got home, everybody was in the living room.
I called Amy.
Oh, you got a hold of Amy?
That'll do it.
How did you get a hold of Amy?
I called her.
I mean, where was she at the time?
At home, I think.
Oh, in Alliance.
Yeah.
Yes, she lived in Alliance, that's right. I kept thinking she would be at school, but no. Yeah, she'd be at home. Anyway, I thought Kenny got a hold of everybody. Shannon and them.
Well, maybe they both did.
Anyway, because I went in and told Kenny, I said, you know, see who you can get on the phone, I gotta go. Trent's gonna take me down. And
I think one of the things with Mom's death that I'm going to remember is how the funeral director thought we were all nuts because we were in there laughing and carrying on. And making jokes.
You know, it was for our family, and here again we're getting into our story or whatever.
Yeah.
But for our family, it was, I think, just kind of the way we handle things. But looking back on it now,
He's had a tape.
No, I'm good.
Oh.
looking back on it now, I think it was probably real hard on Dad for us to be joking and carrying on and everything when he was going through all that. I think.
Well, you know, I'll tell you the funny part about that. It's not funny, but it's something that I thought about later. I called him to take me to the hospital. And when they told me at the hospital, I broke down. And I never once, and I've thought about this a lot, never once thought about his feelings, that that's his mother. I never once gave a thought to how he was feeling. All I could think about is how I was feeling. That was the most selfish moment of my life.
You knew her a lot longer than I did.
That's a natural feeling. I mean,
I know, but still, you'd thought I'd have had some compassion for how he was feeling. But I just assumed that.
I was in shock, so I wasn't.
Well, so was I.
you know, in my life, I think I've seen you cry 2 times, and that it had such a huge impact. One was in the 5th grade. I got kicked out of school, and they sent me home. I had to walk home. And when I got home, you had actually come home from work. I don't know, you must have been working in the area, and Mom called you to come home because they had called her and told her I was walking home, that I had gotten kicked out. And I remember you sitting down at the table and trying to talk to me about it, and that you started crying and saying that you didn't know what kind of future I was going to have, you know, at the rate I was going. And I remember that. And the other is the day Mom died. Walking in the house and just, you know, I was pretty much at peace with it, other than how you were going to handle it. You know what I mean? I felt for you more than I did at losing Mom.
Well, at that time in my life, I didn't want to live. I could have cared less if I dropped dead. And for a long time after that, that's why I started smoking again. I said, to hell with it, I don't care. Because probably for 6 months or a year after that, then I started thinking, geez, I ought to be around anyway to see some of my grandkids grow up. And I got to thinking about the grandkids, which was still selfish. I didn't think about you guys at all.
No, that's...
But now it's entirely different. I'm ready to go, but I am not anxious to go. What is the old saying? I'm tired of living and scared of dying? I don't know, something like that. But I have no fear of death right now, but I'm not going to push it.
You've been pushing it for 70-some years.
Well,
I do, you know, I gotta say that in a strange sort of way, and I don't mean this to sound selfish, it's one of those things where, you know, God works everything to good. And I would say that since Mom's been gone, probably, I know with you and I, our relationship was very strained for a lot of years. And, you know, you can't, it's not something you can put your finger on, but there was just this kind of wall. And I think a lot of it came about in my teen years where I put you through hell. But I think since Mom's been gone, and as my kids grew and I dealt with things and I didn't have Mom to go to and I talked to you, I feel like our relationship has, you know.
I think that's probably that way with all of you. Now, I don't see you two as much as I do Molly, because she comes down every weekend, and I see Adam every other Friday at Bible study and every Sunday at church. And Chris stops over almost every Sunday. He isn't coming as much anymore because, I don't know why, but, well, I do. I'm not going to go into that. But I don't get to see you guys as much as I did when Mom was living. Because when Mom was living, you guys came around a lot more.
I don't think I did.
I don't, you know.
Well, I think you did.
Honestly, we had kind of quit coming over every Sunday.
I remember you, when when you were still married with Nikki, you guys used to come over quite often. And,
Well, that was 20 years ago.
I lived there, so.
yeah.
Once I got married and
But I'll tell
we
you
had our
something,
kids,
guys. She's been dead a long time now, and it's no easier. I still miss her. And I got her picture hanging over my bed, and I tell her good night every night. And I just wonder what it would be like today if she was alive. I know one thing, that room we put on, where they got the pool table, she always wanted that room. And she'd be, I don't know if we'd have put it on if she was living, but we
No,
put it on
probably not.
because we needed the space. But she'd be just thrilled to death with that. It wouldn't be a pool table in there, there'd be a dining room table in there. And she always wanted that kitchen remodeled. And that's done, and I look at that, every time I look at that, I think, I wonder what she'd think if she was living today.
you know, I talked to her a few times out there working on the house,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I think, I wish she'd have been around to see this.
Yeah, I wonder, you know, I thought about that too. I wonder what she'd think about your place
Mm-hmm.
that you're building. There isn't a day that goes by that something doesn't come through my mind that I wonder what Marla would think about this.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose it'll always be that way.
Not always. you
Dr.
see her.
Rosenblatt, several times before he retired, tried to talk me into meeting somebody. He said not to get married, but just to have somebody to talk to. And I said, you know, doctor, I don't think I could have a relationship with another woman because everything she would do wouldn't be fair. I'd be comparing her to Marla.
I suspect.
It wouldn't be fair to her.
I
you know?
suspect that with Sandy, and you tell me if this is true. I suspect it with Sandy, if something were to happen to her and she'd be gone, the things that annoy the hell out of me are going to be the things that I think about the most and miss.
Exactly. It's funny, but some of the things that come to my mind with your mom and I, some of the high points that really stick out in my mind is some of the times that we had problems. Like I can never get out of my mind the time she gave me hell for correcting her on how to load the dishwasher. Told me if I didn't like the way she did things, I could get the hell out. That's the only time she ever said that to me. But it was over how she loaded the damn dishwasher, because she always put the dishes in backwards instead of facing the jet. And I'd go behind her and correct it. And she went through the roof that one day. It just, I don't know whether she was having a bad day, but I remember that. And then a couple of times other that we were having some pretty intimate conversations and she got upset with me. And it's my fault. And you know, there's a song out, I forget who has it, it's a country western song. But every time I hear it, it brings a tear to my eye because I think of Marla. And it's something about, I'd be doing things different now. And then at the end he says, I think everybody would do things different if they had the chance. Like he said, one of the things is that time she wanted the red dress and I wouldn't let her buy it, or the time she wanted to do this and I said no, and it wouldn't have hurt anything, you know. Time she wanted to paint the room yellow and I said no, it wouldn't have made any difference. Now that she's gone, I'd be doing things different now.